We're going to be teaching you how to tap into your natural motion. I want to help you unlock your true swing. That's why you're here. But what does that really mean? What does the concept of swing really mean? Rhythm. Okay, rhythm comes to mind. What about you? You think about the follow through when you think about swing? Okay, so what is it about the follow through? So like freedom to the target, like swinging to your target, finishing to your target, kind of a sensation. I like that. What about you?
Always thought hitting, right, swinging, but
Yeah.
yes,
Well, that's good. That's a good start. To me, the idea of swing is, I think of a pendulum swinging. That concept for me really stems from a coach that was introduced to me when I was young. I read his teachings. His name is Ernest Jones, and he talked a lot about the idea that the golf swing is really just based on a pendulum model, and if we can channel that, we have a really good chance of creating motion that is effortless, that's perfectly timed, that's consistent. And of course, there are different variations of that pendulum depending on if we're trying to use it for sort of a low energy action or task versus high energy. How big that pendulum swings, theoretically how fast that pendulum swings, is all part of what's going to control whether the ball goes short, medium, long. We also have different pendulums in the bag. We have tools that are built to be swung that way, but produce slightly different results in terms of trajectory and ultimately distance. Shaft lengths are different. The clubs are physically built different, irons versus driver. But at the core of it, we're still needing to make a true swinging motion. So the quote that I took from him that kind of inspired the structure more of my teaching philosophy and trying to bring all the concepts that I always thought were really good all together is this one simple sentence: a true swinging motion cannot fail to produce perfect timing. That's anecdotal from Ernest Jones, but I do think that the physics would back that up. If you think about getting a pendulum into motion, there's just a constant rhythm, there's a predictability to it. And so we're trying to channel that and replicate that when we make our motion, because our job as the golfer is to make a golf swing. The tool's job, our golf club's job, is to hit the ball. But to your points of your even own definitions of what you think of when you think of swing, it's different than when we say we're trying to, or we feel like we're hitting at the ball or chopping at the ball or maybe finishing at the ball. We want to make a swinging motion that directs energy to the target. And we just happen to catch the ball with that tool on the way through because, yes, the goal is to propel that golf ball towards the target. We're not physically throwing the golf club, but we're throwing our energy to the target. And I think that's kind of like the key point that I want to get you to feel today through drills and through some of the imagery that we'll talk about is how can we move energy to the target efficiently using this tool that's built to do a job of lifting the ball in the air and sending the ball a certain distance relative to our speed. So he's a perfect swinger. This guy's a perfect swinger. He has kind of soft, relaxed arms. He has a body that we can pivot back and forth that gets the arms basically naturally into motion. So if I just start rotating him right and left, you can see how his arms follow. He has no input from this. These are just simply responding to the actions of his torso turning in space. So I want us to resemble this because then the bigger energy we put in to turning our body, and that would happen from those bigger muscles from the ground up, okay, then we get a bigger swinging action. The arms start to respond to that naturally if we let them. So a true swinging motion cannot fail to produce perfect timing and, for what it's worth, a really good hit if you let it play out. If you let it play out. I think that's really the main asterisk on the whole book is you have to let certain things happen as you make your motion. So we're going to focus on the things you can control in your motion and then try to let go of those involuntary things that should just be following and responding. So would we agree his arms, his arm unit, and we have to imagine there's a golf club with weight on the end of it attached to this too, by the way, right? Because we have that, we're holding that. that his arms are followers. His body is kind of like the leader, and his arms are followers. His arms are not initiating the turn of his body. The turn of his body is initiating the arm swing. So there's another famous old coach. For some reason, I love all these old guys. They inspired me. But I think there was some simple stuff back then because they didn't have technology. So they were finding feels and cues, and they were going off what they saw and what worked and interpreting that in ways that they could explain, communicate, and understand without mapping everything out with 3D and TrackMan. But what's amazing is now we can validate the old school ideas with technology, and that's where I kind of come in, is like saying, okay, here were some really simple concepts. Were they really true? Did they hold water? The answer to me is 100% yes, because I have all the stuff. I can measure what you're doing, and we can try the concepts and say, yes, it's working better than what I was trying to do before. So there's a time and a place to be technical, but at the base of it, this other guy I just mentioned, his name is Coach Bill Strasby. He was a famous guy actually in the DMV. He was at Columbia Country Club for years and years, pro emeritus there, and he was very well known in our section and across the country. They named a national award after the guy, the Bill Strasby Award, for mentoring and coaching other people. So the one thing that I took away from his teachings was this: does the dog wag the tail, or does the tail wag the dog? Of all the things he coached, that's the one thing that sticks with me the most. And it just goes back to the same thing. Are the arms swinging the monkey, or is the monkey swinging the arms? So I want to turn you into rhythmic monkey swingers. And so that's the visual, that's the imagery that we're going to start with to try and emulate with our motion with the class today, and hopefully get you feeling like you really own that sensation. If you don't master it today, that's okay. I hope that you have glimpses of, like, you know, success, and you get a taste of it, and then you know that if you just stay on that and you start to trust it, that you'll get everything to happen more consistently because you'll build confidence in it. I think trusting your motion and having confidence in trusting your motion because you've seen some results obviously go hand in hand. I can't just stand here and be like, try this, just trust it, it's gonna be fine. I can say that, but you still have to see for yourself, and then over some repetition say, yes, I feel that, I see how it's helping, that worked better, I get it, and then keep faith in those themes so that you don't abandon ship and just go back to trying to manipulate things to happen. Which brings me to my next point. So we're trying to create your best, most natural swing free of manipulation. Okay, so his arms and hands here are not manipulating anything to happen. They are simply following the leader.